7948 of the official minutes, it states, in reference to a question I asked, it states, and I quote, he, meaning Norm Klinger, asked that the public be told soon whether or not the city has any intention of acquiring properties through eminent domain. If eminent domain is not intended, disclosure would diffuse the battles created by the threat. In the mayor's response, lower on in the same page of the official minutes, the mayor states that certain parcels have been removed from the redevelopment plan, and then he goes on, and I'll quote, out of the remaining majority portions, that's where it's written, eminent domain has been taken out of the plan except for leaving in some critical pieces that with strictest interpretations, eminent domain may be needed. That is the movie theater, and parentheses, underutilized large parcel, closed, the Luz site, in parentheses, vacant for years, closed parentheses, and the properties across from Luz qualifies for redevelopment with zero-line setbacks, high density, no parking, 3 periods. That and a few other parcels were kept in, well spelled out in the ordinance, as tools to ensure the city would have the ability to force some type of development if needed in the future. The reason I read these minutes is because Julie Milo stated in response to Mr. Milo's question, I believe I wrote down what she said, we don't want to use eminent domain. Now, as I understand it, Mrs. Milo is a volunteer citizen donating her time and has done so for many years on this project. And any citizen participation and volunteerism is certainly appreciated. However, as I understand it, Mrs. Milo doesn't make the decisions, the commissioners will make the decisions. And I'd like to hear, if there is one, a reconciliation between the terminology used by the mayor that I quoted and what we heard tonight from Mrs. Milo about we don't want to use eminent domain. To me, it's not clear that eminent domain is really off the table 100%. And I'd like to hear the answers from the commissioners since they're the deciders. Thank you.
Can I just say one thing? Anybody that wants to avoid eminent domain, all they have to do is bring the property to code. That's it. There's no taking anything. First of all, it would have to be purchased. It would never be taken. If they want to avoid the parcels that are left, if they want to avoid eminent domain, just have to bring the property up to code. That's it. And they can individually be rolled out of the plan. Because once the redevelopment has occurred and the properties are at code, then they have met the requirements of the redevelopment project and they can be released. So it's not, it's a simple thing. The reason we let some of them in is because some of them are in need of the work, the most improvement. So that is the reason. Just so you know, we don't want to take anything.
Thank you for the clarification. I want to know, though, if Ordinance 2007-14 says exactly what you just said. If the properties are brought up to code, eminent domain will not apply to them.
I believe it is addressed in the ordinance.
It's always been in the ordinance that if they upgrade it, they can apply for a certificate and have it removed. That was there. That's been there from day one.
Yeah, it's on, if I could just, it's on page 48. It clearly says that any acquisition, if it was chosen to be done, would be limited to those 7 parcels in the CMU. And within those parcels, anyone could apply upon meeting the requirements from removal from the plan. That's been in there from day one.
And just to answer Mr. Klinger's question, since he directed it to me, is, again, we do not want to use eminent domain. We've said that from the very beginning of this process, but that it was a tool that we needed to have in the event that we had to use it. We're not going to allow a property owner, a single property owner, to detract from the neighborhood and leave a building vacant. If we feel that's going to enhance the city of Ventnor and it's going to enhance another person's redevelopment project, we may have to use eminent domain for that, but it's not our intent. I believe that's what I said at the November 1st meeting. And as Julie echoed, I believe it's consistent with what Julie said today is that we do not want to use eminent domain, but it will be a tool in the event that it needs to be utilized.